So, Uta here with some Jowie Winnie dahlias that had come down in the rain because their tubular petals get too top heavy. We'll keep them in the screen a little bit. I just wanted to give you the news that I am doing another interview with Tammy Peterson, the wife of Dr. Jordan Peterson. And our first interview still is not up. She's been doing a lot of important work and traveling around and so on. I'm thinking it probably will get posted at least in part. We had a lengthy conversation actually, and that was mostly about my book, In the Curated Woods, True Tales from a Grass Widow, published at iUniverse in ebook and softcover. She read the ebook and was very wonderful and complimentary about it. And she does have the same kind of connections with nature that I feel. And we feel the same about the healing uh, capacity of the natural world. And so our next topic, which we will record early next week for her channel, Tammy Peterson, will be regarding the four children who I taught who expressed cross sex ideation and then stopped. The longest was maybe 6 or 7 months. And that next fall, that boy came back just wanting to be a boy who sometimes wears pink. Um, he had been experiencing his parents' high conflict divorce. I don't know if his mother was kind of influencing him towards this idea. And then there were two girls who had this thing. They both had a fascination with standing up to urinate. That was kind of interesting. And then there was a boy who wanted to differentiate himself from his older brother, and I don't know, he did this for 2 weeks. And he maybe had the sense that since he was the younger one, that his mother wanted a girl or something. He might have overheard something. He was very, very brilliant, this kid. And so I will be discussing that and also how to kind of inoculate, to emotionally and psychologically inoculate your own young children against the propaganda that's in schools about gender-bred man and gender unicorn, both of which were developed by high school students paid by the Arcus Foundation. They were probably cross-sex ideating teenagers who thought up this way to explain what they're feeling. And so this is something that is non-professionally originated, which has just washed into the schools, swept over the schools, and been presented as if it was determined by highly skilled educators, but it was not. Now, I'm going to read a little bit from my book. I'm just wondering what picture I have. Oh, this was March, and that is the bulbs coming up, the snowdrops, and I actually have another book under my other pen name, Lea Utsira, called Leaves or All About Leaves. And I have lots of pictures of those little sharp leaves of snowdrops poking up through the previously fallen leaves from last year. And yes, that's my science book. And I do really, really wish that I could have just kept on writing science books for children and also books like My Heart, Your Heart, which is to help a child who is grieving a grandparent. And that is also from iUniverse under my pen name, Lea, Lea, Utsira, Utsira, at iuniverse.com/bookstore. Now we're going to go into the true tale. I have many true tales of Nettie's behavior from my book, In the Curated Woods. This is the true tale of the two long fingernails. Once forgotten, this episode's remembrance is spurred by a documentary. An archaeologist on a British show brought to mind this ridiculous minutia of the 2 in-between years I lived with Nettie. This academic's fingernails were unusually long and pretty dirty, too, because he was an archaeologist. It was weird. The episode had the archaeologist digging in a muddy spring looking for Iron Age artifacts. In the end, it turned out the spring had been salted. And antiques from various eras, including an ancient sword, had been dropped and dug in and placed so the owners could later have a week or so of fame and have a dig on their land. The property owners denied any knowledge of this at the end of the show, but we were left wondering, as the TV archaeologist turned over a coin in his hand, noting that it had been broken and glued back together, a sure sign that it couldn't be from the Iron Age or something, proof of the site's inauthenticity. I saw that the fingernails on those hands were unusually long for a man, and I suppose the dark lines added to the veracity of his findings, proving that he had been, in fact, digging in the soil looking for this old coins. The memories of asking Nettie to cut his nails came tumbling back. For some reason, longer fingernails were important to him. He thought that it made his 2 big hands, his hands that are a man's hands, too big to be a woman's, would look more womanly if he had long fingernails. This is very common among men who ideate an opposite-sex female persona. My sense was that it had something to do with the belief that the longer nails made his hands look smaller and feminine. The size of hands, feet, and the Adam's apple, these are clues to knowing that someone who dresses female started out life as a boy. Choosing shoes and clothing revolves around hiding these characteristics, which become an obsessive focus. I didn't find the look of my husband's long nails appealing, and I didn't like the feeling of them when he touched me. If you ask me, that's grounds enough for divorce. We argued about the issue. I insisted that he cut his nails because the children could get scratched, and they talked about it. Our older one did anyway. And I confessed that it was a turnoff for me. He'd finally clip off the long nails, but I got the silent treatment then for a day or 2. Classic narcissistic abuse. Later in new relationships, I checked out my potential boyfriend's hands on every date at first. Not one of those guys in my recollection ever let his fingernails grow long. And my guy Clace is a pianist. And so he knows that he'd have inarticulate clicking when he's playing his Beethoven and Bach and Soler and Mozart. And I keep my fingernails short too because of all the gardening, even with gloves on. Time to get out there. It might start raining again, and I've got so much weeding. Be sure to plant the flowers, weed between them, and count the butterflies.